Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Thursday. We've got NFL football tonight. Finally, is Michigan waving the white flag? This is going to be a very interesting episode. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've heard with Ohio State football. I've got to get Nevada in here. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on at the Woody Hayes. We've got some really good, tight intel we're going to get through. Take your questions. Football season is here, folks. So get to find my man. He is around here somewhere, hidden amongst the different boxes that I have on my screen. But yeah, this is going to be a huge show again because you guys make it one. So as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every night. As always, this has been an unprecedented run for us, and it's been absolutely incredible how much the show has grown. We appreciate all that you guys do. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. As always, we just appreciate all that you guys do. If you guys want to do something amazing for us, consider subscribing to our Apple Podcast feed. We've had an incredible run on there. It's been a dramatic rise in our audio deals that have been showing up. So it's been really really fun. Like again, it's been something really special, and like I said, it's amazing what this community has become. I actually did a separate podcast today. If any of you guys have your own podcasts and have any interest in having me on, I'm always welcome to helping grow other channels, help people out, whatever. Again, I did Casey Croft's show today. I've done a bunch of I did Devin and the Buckeye Boys. I've done the Ohio podcast. So if you guys have any interest, just send me an email, either buckeyescoop@gmail.com or barton.145@gmail.com. Again, I just appreciate you guys for reaching out. And, I'm always up to helping people if they think that me talking on their show would help their platform or attract any of our viewers, help grow the channels. I love doing stuff like that. So, again, I appreciate you guys. I know that a lot of you guys like to tune in and watch this, and I know a lot of people are trying to grow their own shows. So I've done a ton of those. I've done radio hits. So again, if you guys ever have an interest in that, just shoot me an email. Again, I'd love to help you guys out. So with that being said, I'm going to bring in my partner, if I can find the stupid window. Nevadabuck. Nevada, I apologize because the window to let you in was buried. So that was I literally, it's like every day there's some new adventure. Like now, just to be clear, you guys can hear me today because yesterday the first 15 minutes I got 800 text messages and emails and DMs about my microphone being low. Then today, your interview window that I let you in the door was vanished. So again, every day it's a new adventure for Kirk. But you are here now, and you are the bringer of, I think, good news regarding the Michigan investigation. What's some of the latest stuff you're hearing, and how it sounds like the song is changing a little bit in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I think we're in endgame now. I think we're and I hate getting into timing stuff because timing's it's so dependent on so many factors. But basically, what I'm hearing is that Michigan is in full flight and full settlement mode right now, and attempting to kind of adjudicate this. And I really believe wholeheartedly, not a guess, that Michigan administration, Michigan lawyers, especially Michigan board, are rooting really hard for Michigan to lose this week to Texas because it'll make it a heck of a lot easier for them to settle, flush the season, start their multi-year ban right away when they've got a loss, and it's maybe even a decisive loss. Because if they're still undefeated, it's going to be really hard for the crazies to give up on this, and so I think for them a loss, while a loss we'd be all elated, and that's what we're all expecting. Let me tell you what, there's a lot of people on Michigan side that are rooting for that as well, because that will kind of grease the skids for these settlement discussions, because the NCAA is digging in, and what they're saying is if you go, if we go to the mattresses and we go the full, we walk the Green Mile, we're going for the full enchilada at you guys. And so for Michigan, they've got it. They've got kind of this Sophie's choice right now of they can take a punishment, um, or they can go for roll the dice and go for the big board and potentially risk one that's substantially worse than what they get on this one. And I think that, as we've talked about, I think minimum standards are multi-year bowl ban and vacation of wins, along with all the other parting goods. So I think for Michigan, they don't really have a lot of good options right now. But for them politically, flushing this year, when they're still undefeated, when there's still hope alive, when there's still people on Michigan side going, we've got the longest winning streak in college. We're going to be the national champions. I think that's got to end for Hope Dan, but I really believe that we are closer to the end than to the beginning on this one, and I think that if Michigan loses to Texas this weekend, I think things could move very quickly on the settlement front with the NCAA, because I really believe that's one of the last hangups.
Well, I think that you made an incredible point about Michigan hoping that they lose, because I think that makes it a lot easier to self-impose when you get waxed by Texas. And again, you look down the pike, man, with USC, Oregon, Ohio State. Like, this isn't going to be a Big Ten championship season. This isn't going to be a repeat type. I mean, like, the Vegas odds are what, 8.5, whatever it is. It's just like, I think that there is a section of Michigan's, because you have to understand, inside of the organization of any school, if it's Ohio State, if it's Michigan, since the dawn of time, there are people that don't like the football program because they think that anytime that they do something wrong, it gives the university a black eye. And I mean, I was watching the other night, like, this is what I do in the middle of the night when I'm working. I was watching a Woody Hayes documentary, from the 70s, and literally, like, they talked about how there were academics that were upset about the football program and the inordinate amount of attention they got, despite the fact they were just a cash cow, a revenue generator, just like they've always been. Despite the fact Woody Hayes was one of the lowest paid coaches in the country because he would never take a raise, there were still people that hated the football program back then, even though it was like just a money making machine. But it does wield an inordinate amount of the press and the thing. So when something goes wrong like this scandal, they want blood, and there's people that want them to lose. And again, I think that the best thing for again, if I was the head of the board of trustees at the University of Michigan, I would hope that they'd lose this week, and I'd say I hope they lose, because then it's okay. Let's get this thing going. Let's drop the charade. Let's, because again, and the best scenario is probably if they lose 4 or 5 games, because then again, they're going to lose to Texas, they're going to lose to Oregon, they're going to lose to USC, they're going to lose. There's 4, and if they slip up one other time, there's 5. I mean, how easy is it to get rid of Sherrone Moore when he's a repeat offender and he's got a 5-loss season? Again, it's a lot like with Luke Fickell with Urban Meyer looming, like, totally different scenario, but they cleaned out the entire organization with the tattoo gate. Basically, every coach minus about 4 of us were fired, let go. Urban came in. Again, I think a lot of these organizations and a lot of these business people that are on these boards, like, that's what happens at an organization. If something gets sideways or it gets rotten, they chop the head off and they start over if they can. And I think that's where Michigan's at. Like I said, they're finally. It's like they started listening to our podcast all of a sudden or something. We're just like, guys, like, this is really serious. This is bad. And the flippant stupidity that they've had since really November, October, with the president tweeting back, which that was the most embarrassing thing. I mean, I would burn my Michigan degree if I had one. If the president is acting like he's some 19-year-old freshman on the football team, tweeting bet and supporting Jim Harbaugh. And again, I don't think Jim Harbaugh's making it. I think Jim Harbaugh is actively hoping that Michigan gets crushed. Because again, if they get crushed, there's a good chance Ward gets fired, which is his arch enemy, despite what people think. Like, those two hate each other. And what's a great thing that you can do to someone you hate? Get them fired, get them unemployed. Again, I have no idea how Ward Manuels has a job today after the basketball program, the hockey program, and this football thing. Again, with repeat offenders, like, at some point, if you're the leadership at Michigan, you have to say, what is this guy just sleeping at his desk all day, or is he at Golden Corral all day, or like what's he doing? Because again, if my program had that initial screw up with the cheeseburger gate, which again, they suspended the head coach for an entire season, which again, as Nevadabuck pointed out, that's never happened ever in the history of football where an acting head coach has been suspended for an entire season. Now, he skipped town because he knew it was coming. So again, now they're all repeat offenders, and it's going to be even worse. So again, I'm in beg and plead mode, and again, like this is the classic. I always bring up the gangster case, or nobody ever rats or whatever. But yeah, it's like none of these guys rat until it's, hey, you can go away for 150 years, or you can go away for 4 years. And eventually it's like, well, man, maybe I better settle, or maybe I better work out some sort of a deal, unless I just want to, be, blown to smithereens by the NCAA, because that's where it's at. And again, the way they've acted, they've earned it. Like, I mean, whatever punishment they get, and honestly, I hope they don't settle, and I hope they get smashed into the ground. But if someone has a brain there, they're gonna say, hey, we're not going to be very good this year, and we're going to be even worse next year when all these NFL guys leave. So we better take our lumps. And again, I would clean house and get rid of everybody. And they basically already got rid of mostly everybody. And again, all these little things that add up. Like, again, Michigan takes a photo of Sherrone Moore not signing a contract with the pen, but the pen must have never touched the paper because he doesn't have a contract. And how many other coaches don't have contracts that aren't signed? Like, that's completely abnormal. The only guy who signed is Wink Martindale, who is, again, he was a splash hire. He's an NFL guy. They signed him for $3 million a year. And Wink Martindale is not coming to coach college football after being in the NFL. I was with him in Denver with the Broncos, and like, he's not leaving the NFL lifestyle, which is cush compared to college, unless he's getting a huge deal, and it's a 3-year deal, and it's fully guaranteed. So he's the guy that has a real contract. I think most of the guys, there might be one or two others that do, but the head coach does not have a signed contract, and we're 2 weeks into the season. So Nevada, was there anything that sparked you on that? Because again, like the fact that everyone was retweeting today that Sherrone was signing his contract, but he never actually signed it. I mean, I would love to hear the talk from Ward Manuel. Hey, Sherrone, we're going to get this photo for social media of me and you sitting at the desk with you with the pen on the paper, but don't actually touch the paper, okay? This is just for wink, wink, nod, nod. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, that was a picture apparently of him signing that memorandum of understanding back in January, but that doesn't explain why you fast forward 8 months later and he doesn't have a contract, and then Ward Manuel comes out today, yesterday, whatever, the last 24 hours, and says, yeah, we're planning getting a contract, but some things have popped up. Like, some things have popped up. It's kind of like, oh, wow, that's a really interesting thing. That's a really interesting turn of a phrase. Some things have popped up after 8 months after you signed a memorandum of understanding that are prohibiting you from getting a contract signed with your head coach. I wonder what those could be. I wonder if it's NCAA issues there. Yeah, that's probably my guess. That doesn't sound like it's just going to be a fine and a 2-game suspension. That's probably not holding up Sherrone Moore's $20 million contract or whatever. Can you imagine if they came to him with a $20 million contract and like, Sherrone, here's a $20 million contract, but you've got to sit out a 2-game suspension at the beginning of this, and he's like, nope, not going to do it. No, won't sign it. Sherrone Moore would have cut off his arm to sign that contract at that point and take 2 games off and do whatever and move on down the line. But they are not allowing him to sign the contract because they are asking for the contract to be voided if there's NCAA violations. Because Sherrone Moore is facing, I mean, 6 games, 10 a year as a repeat offender with another level 2 thing for destroying evidence during the investigation. And he's already on probation. He's a repeat offender. So Michigan needs a fall guy. They need to have somebody who's going to be the sacrificial lamb. And the guy that they wanted it to be was Jim Harbaugh, and he's already out of town. And then the next guy they wanted to be was Connor Stallions, and nobody cares about Connor Stallions. So that's not going to do it. So they're going to have to offer up Sherrone Moore, Ward Manuel, their entire staff, and as I've reported from day one on this thing, the NCAA is going for vacated wins. The NCAA is going for postseason bans, and there is no way out for Michigan right now. And the Board of Trustees, they've kind of figured that out now, and that's why they've moved into we've got to get this settled mode. And for the lawyers are like, hey, we can get this settled, but here's where it's at. And so what do you do in this situation where you do it? Now Ward Manuel's got to prepare. He's got think about this whole scenario where you're like, okay, you've got to move to an untenable settlement. What types of things would you do? Well, one, you wouldn't have your coach under. You would not have a $20 million commitment to your head coach who stays up. Okay, well, check that box. Really unusual. But let's hire another running backs coach just in case. Super unusual. Let's have none of the other coaches other than one under contract. Okay, check that box. Let's start doing. Um, let's stop all the defiant talk, all the bet talk, all the we'll fight them in the streets talk. Let's cut all that stuff. Okay, check. Let's start doing friendly media, talking about you got to follow the rules. Sometimes things come up, and we agreed to these rules, and these guys. I mean, they literally check every box. You can see if you're paying attention, you can see exactly how this is playing out in real time. And right now, they want to settle. They want to get this behind them. This thing is killing them. It's killing them from a financial standpoint with their boosters. It's killing them with sponsors. It's killing them in recruiting. I mean, they have a head coach who doesn't have a contract. That there couldn't be that is such an unusual situation. That is not normal to be in a situation like that. And it's certainly not normal at a big school. I mean, maybe if you're at Bethune-Cookman or something like that, but at Michigan, to be the head coach and you sign a memorandum of understanding that expired in March or April, and you're sitting here in September coaching the team without a contract, dude, this is so unusual. Like I said, I have no. This whole situation is crazy. But what I can tell you is Michigan is desperately trying to settle this right now. They've moved from defiance. I think we're moving to acceptance, and I fully expect them to lose this weekend to Texas because they're just not a good football team. And then I fully expect things will accelerate after that because I really think that's a hold up for them right now. As long as they're unbeaten, as long as there's hope, I think it's going to hold up the business negotiations.
Well, imagine, and that's a great point you make about the fundraising. You know, 'cause again, I've lived the world of fundraising, and I know fundraising very well, and I know mega donors very well. And like, if you're ward manual or you're one of these development officers that's in charge of raising money, what is the first thing like when you call these mega donors and say, "Hey, we need a new volleyball court or a new football building or whatever"? What is the first thing these guys are going to ask about? What is going on with the Connor Stallions thing? What are the and it's not just that, it's what are the punishments going to be? What's it going to look like next year? Again, I lived this during the Trussell thing, and it was like, dude, go, with the Trussell thing, the tattoo gate. There's all these little incidents in life that like if when we got smashed by Florida Gators or LSU or whatever in the bowl game or whatever, like people don't want to give money because they're angry. They don't want to wear the logo. They're embarrassed by it. Again, if you embarrass the Block O, for whatever, like as a team or as a coach or whatever, people don't want to wear the jersey. They don't want to wear the logo. And like Michigan, again, we said this, and this was a telltale sign when the M Den goes bankrupt. Which again, if you came to me or Nevadabuck or both of us or whatever like a year ago and said, "Hey, would you want to buy stock in the M Den when the team's about to win a national championship?" I'd be like, "Yes, please." Team's about to be really good. They're going to win 3 straight Big Ten titles, whatever. Yes, please. If I knew that they're going to suck or this was going to go on, no, please. Because again, those things like Buckeye Corner and these stores, they live and die with the team. And again, if they get smashed in a bowl game, it is a bad day for Buckeye Corner or whatever. But this was the opposite. Michigan ran the table, had the greatest season in program history, and won a national title. And they literally went out of business, which means people don't want to wear the M. They're embarrassed by it. They know what's coming. They're embarrassed by how they want. There's a sector of people that are like that. Now, there's some that are just so dumb that they don't care. They don't know any better. But yeah, there's just all these signs that are just like, do these guys not realize how bad this is? And I explained it. I was on a podcast earlier today, and I was explaining. I was like, these guys, not only did they break the rules, but they laid all the evidence out. Because again, with forensics, they can find anything. Especially if you use the company computer, the company Wi-Fi at Michigan, same as Ohio State, they literally grab it and they can access it, and there's no getting rid of it. And then the stuff that they tried to get rid of or tried to hide, that's even more damning than just handing it over. Because again, they already know what you have, so you might as well just cop to it. But again, when you're Connor Stallions, again, who lives in Neverland, it never really registers. Nevada, anything additionally, and we can start digging into some super chats.
No, I think for for Michigan right now they don't have a lot of good options right now, and I think for them, settling this thing, getting this thing behind them, it's really their only play, and they've seen where kind of defiance has got them, and that's why that whole tone's gone, man. There's nobody from Michigan side that's going out there and going, "Oh, they found nothing. Oh, this is the nothing break." All that stuff, all those conversations, even from idiots like Ballas and some of those other idiots, has dried up. They're not saying it anymore. Why is that? Because they know. And I'm absolutely shocked the NOA is not leaked yet, and I absolutely believe that is a I want to say I want to use a better word than conspiracy, but certainly a collaboration between the Michigan media and Michigan not to get that out there because um, I would think that any inquisitive media, locally, right, that would have access to that, and they'd be publishing that, and that just has not happened, and that is absolutely stunning to me that in 2024 that any document could be out there that long and not be made public, and you know there's a reason for that too. The longer this thing goes, it was bad. If this was good, or if this was even kind of not bad, Michigan would have leaked that sucker in about 17 seconds, man. But the longer this thing goes, this thing was bad. And I'm telling you, they are trying to settle now. And that is not the move of somebody that feels like they've got a winning hand or that they've got a favorable negotiating position. They know it's only going to get worse the longer this thing goes, and they want to get this behind them.
Yeah, like when you're in their situation and you know you're going to get absolutely destroyed, like you might as well get it over with, and you also might as well cop to it and start acting like like an adult and take accountability for your stupidity, for your heinousness, and for your rule breaking. I mean, eventually, you can keep flipping off the NCAA and you can keep talking. And again, I would, I know Jim Harbaugh is uncontrollable and I know he's an idiot. But I would please, if I'm Sherrone Moore, I'm like, dude, will you please shut the F up and stop talking? Stop talking to the press. Stop saying that the NCAA is worthless and they're toothless and whatever he said. I mean, he like pokes them about stuff that doesn't even matter. He's like, oh, they just lost a lawsuit where they got to pay people $2.7 billion, or like dude, that's nothing to do with anything you did. Do I agree that these kids should be getting paid? Sure, but you can't like go say that to like hey, look over here, don't look at the flaming house, look over here at my hand, like come on, dude. But I would again I think he's it's amazing when you look at the show, you look at him, and you look at Stallions, like I mean just absolutely delulu, absolutely out of their mind, crazy. And it's like they literally live in an alternate universe where the rules don't apply to them, and I think that they're so unethical and they're such liars that they think that like if they keep telling themselves that this reality is real, that they think that rational, intelligent people like you guys and us will believe it. And again, we're slicker than that. We're way quicker than that. And again, that's why I laugh because like I said, I do Cotter Science game. I literally like picked his brain and figured out exactly what he did, why he did it, how he did it, the pressure that he had from doing it. Again, this is a guy that literally got a full time job at Michigan only because he was prolific at stealing signs. That's it. That was his only utility. And guess what? He's like, well, if this is what they think I'm good at, I better make it as efficient and as brutally accurate as possible. And that's what he did. He's like, well, I could just pick the signs normally, or I could decide to, go get film and study it and make it like flashcards and just get it so cold that by the time it's game day, it's just like nothing. So I don't know. It's pretty spectacular. So we're gonna dig into some super chats real quick. Adam Dowling, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. Oh God, here we go. This is a good one. How insane do you have to be to fake a contract signing? And again, as Nevada pointed out, it's likely the memorandum of understanding, which is not a contract, but it's we will start paying you on this date, and it'll be this amount, and it'll be just like a contract, except it's not a contract. So I think that it's a lot of optics. Like Michigan thinks that they're slick with a lot of these little 3-card money things that they pull on their fan base, and they like a lot of big football programs, they weaponize their beat writers to push a message, even if it's completely false. Even the thing about the big football programs is they're the machine. So if they have to push some idiotic message like Jim Harbaugh's flying back to sign his extension and he's on his way back on the jet from LA to re-up and he's not going like they'll throw the they'll throw the beat writers off the train. They don't care. Like I mean, because the machine keeps moving no matter what. So again, they weaponize the beat writers to put out the stupidity, and they tweet this, and everybody retweets it, and Sherrone's the new conquering hero. And again, he looked like a deer in headlights on Saturday night. And again, when he plays a real team, we'll see. Because again, he doesn't have Jim Harbaugh keeping the car inside the lines for 99% of the week, and then he takes over for 2 hours on game day. Now he's got to run the whole show with a whole new staff, and it's going to get real rocky real quick. Nevada, your thoughts again. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you. Thanks for the 5. How insane do you have to be to fake a contract signing, Nevada?
Well, look, it's just Michigan. I mean, everything about Michigan, they're complete hypocrites, and everything is about the image with there's no basis of reality behind it. In this particular case, though, they certainly are trying to give you the impression he's signing the contract, even though this is back in January and this is the MOU. They're trying to give you the impression that this guy is signed, sealed, and delivered, and the reality is he's not. He hasn't been, and it's 8 months later, and Ward Manuel's talking about things popping up. I cannot express to you how weird the situation is. None of that is normal behavior. None of that is ordinary. And but it's becoming typical for this whole Michigan scandal. And I do want to correct one thing that you said before. You said that 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 Connor Stalions got his contract solely because he was a sign stealer. No, he got it because he was the only person that was ever able to do a spreadsheet showing where everybody was drafted from in the past 30 years in the NFL draft, Kirk. You know what I'm saying? So how dare you say that his only utility was stealing signs? He figured out how to do a spreadsheet with that, which I hate to tell you, other people have replicated, and it took them about like 90 seconds or something like that to do a plugin or something. The fact that he was talking about that like he was discovering like the Rosetta Stone or some sort of thing during that thing, that might have been the highlight of the whole show. That was underrated. He's like, I'm not giving this away for free. I have every person's high school for the past 30 years. Kirk, you understand that's publicly available information? What in the world was he talking about?
I mean, you could hire some kid in India to make that in probably about 2 hours, where he could go through 30 years of draft stuff. I mean, all I would say is, hey, look, recruit the South, recruit Georgia, Florida, Texas, Ohio, California, and then there's 90% of the draft picks. Boom.
No,
You
the
know,
population the population centers. But I mean, you can literally do it like you literally with AI and like a plugin, but you can do that literally in less than 90 seconds.
I know, but he was really proud of that. Again, like
Very, very
I mean,
proud.
he wrote a manifesto, and like Nick Saban didn't write a manifesto, Urban didn't, Belichick didn't. The closest thing there's ever been to a manifesto is Bill Walsh wrote an incredible book, but again, he's the only one, and that thing was like 500 pages, and if you buy it on eBay, it's like $200 because it's like they don't make it anymore, and it's not in a digital format. But that's just being a wackadoo. And again, I've been around people that are Ohio State people that they want to be a part of the program, that they'll do anything and they'll present stuff and they try to get in. And I've been around those people. So it's like I get it. But the difference between those people and Connor is Connor sold signs and he figured out how to, film stuff, and this is my system. And because again, I would love to have seen him sit in the room with Jim Harbaugh and Sherrone Moore and Mike McDonald and say, or whoever, and say, this is what I do. I have this group of spies, and I'm some master tactician that makes them hold their iPhone 12 like this for 4 hours. Like I mean, could you imagine at a game going like this for that long and just saying, okay, I'm normal. I promise I'm normal. I'm not crazy at all. And then I mean, you have to do that 30 seconds at a time for 4 hours, and every single, I'm telling you, every single one of those, you stop and you start a new video, because that's the marker of the signs. So like doing that for 4 hours, like I don't know how much you'd have to pay. It'd be more than $1,000. I'm not doing that for $1,000. There's no way. So I don't know what he's paying these guys. Like I'm not going to stand with my arms out and because again, you're gonna. The hardest part is like when you're doing this, you don't want to attract attention. I am not going to sit there and be like, well, what? Why is this the only guy I've ever seen in the history of football stand there with his arms out like this, filming stuff? Like, doesn't that ring? Like, this guy's not watching the game. He's not cheering. He's watching it through his phone. Like, that is that. I just feel like so. Again, that's why in the Saudis document they talked about this stuff popping up on message boards. Penn State message board. Hey, there was this really weird guy. And again, when you're doing something that weird, people take photos of you. Hey, there was this really weird guy who was filming everything for the entire game. Like, what a weirdo. Like, I mean, he's not just doing that so he can go home and watch it in his basement. He's doing that because someone sent them there to do that. So, again, like when there's a lot of smoke, again, this is like when we found out there was a camera in the Mercedes-Benz zone before we were getting ready to play the Georgia Bulldogs. And like, they swept the whole thing and we did a show on it because we got tipped on it. And I was like, oh my God, like someone had a camera with a tripod pointed right at our sideline for thing. And then, of course the Mercedes-Benz Bowl copped, there was some advertiser or whatever. I'm like, who sets up a camera on a tripod in a suite and points it down at right where our guys are signaling it during practice? And I'm just like, that would have to be the dumbest luck in the history of mankind. Because again, Ryan Day acknowledged it at his press conference the day after we did the show on it. And he's like, yeah, we did find a camera, and they said it was there for some promotional thing. I'm like, oh, I'm sure. It just magically is pointed right at their sideline, but. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I can buy that. But again, that's why I always say, like, when you're down in the South, man, again, I love the Georgia Bulldogs and I love the Alabama Crimson Tide because they've convinced people that, when Georgia plays in Atlanta, that's a neutral site game. And when we have half the national championships at now, Atlanta, who's there every year? Georgia. So again, it's comic greatness when people try to convince me of that. I appreciate that, Adam. All right, let's go on to Matthew. Matthew Shelton, thank you for the 5. Are all sports programs added to the repeat offender status? Do they accumulate across all sports? Will hockey add to the football repeat offender charge? No. I believe, and Nevada, you can correct me on this, that it's literally, I think it's through the individual and also through the program. Like Sherrone Moore is a repeat offender because he got dinged for Cheeseburger Gate for illegal recruiting violations. So it's tied to the individual. So again, but again, if it consistently happens to a program, then that's what leads to Nevada's beloved lack of institutional control. Nevada, you can expand on this. I don't want to talk too much if you've got a better explanation for this.
Well, it's a great question. I honestly, I'd have to check the bio because I don't want to say, when I know something, I'll say it. If I don't know it, I'll tell you. I don't know. That's a great question about the lack of institutional control. Just because I haven't really paid attention to that because it with football they've got the existing probation that they're on from Cheeseburger Gate, and then they've got this one, which is the second, so it falls in there. I don't know if any of the other stuff would have triggered a lack of institutional control charge or not, but they certainly are in it as a repeat offender for football because they're in that 5-year window on the second one. And let me tell you what, that is not a good place to be. And we posted the NCAA dashboard. You see, there's nobody else on the dashboard that's got multiple investigations. There's one school in the entire NCAA universe. That's Michigan. That is not where you want to be, and that's firmly where they find themselves right now in 2024. And that's no bueno at all.
Yeah, and like again, it's astounding to me that somebody who had a ding went after it and did another ding, like in terms of getting, you got dinged, and then the second one, you get that repeat offender thing. That's crazy. I mean, again, I in 2011, I sold JT bands, like these little JT wristband things. There are these little cheap things from China, and I couldn't give them to the kids. I'd rather give them to the kids, but I charged the kids like $20 for each one or whatever because I could not give that to them, or that's a violation. So sold them to the $20 for the kid, but we all wore them because we were support and trust. And I got suspended for a week during training camp for. It wasn't because I sold them to the kids. It was because they weren't allowed to have something that wasn't available to the public. So I didn't make them for the public. I just made them for us because we were trying to save our coach. And the funniest part is like by the time I finally got him, Truss had gotten fired, so it didn't even matter because it took 6 months to get the stupid things. But like after that, like that deal, I was like letter perfect. I was like, I'm not giving these guys. I'm not doing some other stupid thing. Because again, looking back on it, was that stupid? Yes. But did I love Jim Tressel and want to support him? Also, yes. And our guys all wrote JT on their wrist tape and stuff. I was like, and this is back when the power balance things were a thing. So it was kind of like a fake power balance. That's what it looked like. And it said JT on the side. But I just, I love Jim Tressel as much as any human being on this earth. He's like my dad. So when he's getting just beaten to a pulp every day, like, there were a lot of us in there that he was like our dad. So, we were just kind of standing in solidarity because we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to say anything pre-social media, whatever. But we, he knew we were with him. But again, by the time I got him, he was already gone. But yeah, it was, that was my thing. But the whole moral of that story is that once I got screwed up, or I screwed up and I got suspended by the school, I literally was like, I'm not doing a single thing that they could even think would be wrong. Because again, it was my screw up. And again, that was something where, it wasn't to make money, it wasn't to do anything, but I couldn't give them away. Like, I mean, if it was today, I could just I'd just hand them out because it's NIL. But back then it was like, you had to charge something. So it was like $20 or whatever, and stupid, lost money on them.
But Kirk, I ordered Save John Cooper necklaces from Pakistan, and I'm still waiting for them. So if they come, I'm going to hand them out to everybody.
They're in Zambia. The kids wearing the Barton 69 Bears jerseys. They got the Save Cooper, and they've got our 2006 national championship shirts on too. They've got the Barton treehouse like tent made, and they got the Save John Cooper on, and
they asked me if I wanted expedited shipping, and I'm like, no way, man. Give me the standard shipping or something. But I'm still waiting on that stuff, man. It's been a long time, but when I get them, man, I'm going. Let's go, Coop.
Let's go, Coop.
Let's go.
We got some of the media guys that are hire Luke Fickle instead of Urban. We got those t-shirts out there too. Some of our compatriots. I was like, I think I'm gonna go with that Meyer guy. I like him. TK, thanks for the 5. Is a settlement similar to a plea? If so, what are the non-negotiable penalties? Well, I mean, again, I always liken it to a plea. I don't legally know if it's the same thing as a plea. I just, again, it's basically cutting a deal so you don't get smashed. You don't get hit harder. That's what I liken it to. And again, the first thing that pops to my mind is like when you see these gangsters, or you see Sammy the Bull Gravano up there singing like a canary, because otherwise he's going to jail for 50 murders. But if he tattles on everybody, then he gets to walk the streets within like a month or whatever. So that's what I always liken it to. But I don't know if there's non-negotiable penalties. Nevada, again, is a settlement similar to a plea? And if so, are there non-negotiable penalties? I don't know if you'd know that, because again, we don't know what the exact penalties are. We've heard whispers, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, think of it this way. It's like Law and Order. You've got like the law portion of the NCAA that lays out the case, and then when you advance past it, they give you a notice of allegations, and you have 90 days to respond. And then it goes to the NCAA judge, the enforcement division that goes, or infractions and enforcement, and then they assign penalties to you, and then you live with that or die with that or whatever it is. Michigan does not want this to go the full Monty. Michigan wants, I mean, if they'd have been smart, they would have negotiated this beforehand, and this notice of allegations would have never come to them. What if the process would have been, there would have just been an announcement from the NCAA and from Michigan that they've settled the issue. And it would have been like, here's the settlement, here's the case, here's the thing. The fact that they got served with the notice of allegations said that they could not reach a settlement. And so, meaning the NCAA was asking for more than what Michigan was ready to say yes to. And now it's kind of turning where they realize they don't have any play. Like you don't want to go all the way on this thing, because this thing is killing Michigan. It's death by 10,000 cuts right now. And that's before the notice of allegations is even public. Once this thing is public, man, the media is going to turn on Michigan. The boosters are going to turn on Michigan. The sponsors are going to turn on Michigan. It's going to get way, way worse. So I think what they'd like to have happen is they'd like to try to keep this notice of allegations under wrap as long as possible, and have the next thing that come out be, here's what we've decided on, here's what we settled on. The problem is right now, They've got a 1-0 football team, and and the crazies at Michigan, the crazies run Michigan football right now, especially coming off a national championship. Um, yeah, they can't flush this season until Texas flushes it for them. So Quinn Ewers is going to do a lot. There's going to be a lot of happy people at Michigan when Quinn Ewers violates them this weekend. That's going to make everything a lot easier for them.
Yeah, I'm excited for my boy Quinn. That's gonna be great. No, I already know this play. Dave Mathis, thank you for the 5. Can you pull up the Akron game, second quarter, 12:03 on the clock? Can you uh, take us through why they get wrecked during film for lack of blocking from number 88, Nevada OH?
I oh
Well, I can attempt to, but I already know what play it is. This is how bad I am because I've watched the game 5 times. Because again, we work really hard to make sure that we're really, really sharp about what we talk about with you guys. The play is I bet my house. It's a read option where G Scott arc blocks. And an arc block is where he releases. Let me see if I can find it real quick. He releases off the line and has to go block a guy. And again, you know us. We are not G Scott. We are not G Scott defenders. We're fair with G. I mean, he's not a blocker. We know that. You guys know that. He knows that. It's just not his talent. And but that block is somewhat of a difficult block. Could he have been more aggressive and just went at the guy? Yes, but he's also trying to kind of seal and hook the guy. Let me see if I can find this real quick. And it looks terrible when it's a give. What a give is when Will Howard reads the defensive end and he hands it to the running back, and G is kind of blocking it as if he's trying to loop out and basically seal the guy, because if the quarterback keeps it, that he's in great position. But when the quarterback doesn't keep it, it looks terrible. So again, like when you look at it on tape, it looks like, oh my God, like he's terrible, he's lazy, he's dumb, he doesn't know his plays, like whatever. So I'm gonna see if I can find this because I gotta find like the whole thing. But that's the gist of it. Apologize, I'm gonna turn my volume down real quick. But let me see again. This is something I've never done before, so I'm really gonna pull it up. But I would bet a large sum of money that is the exact play that we're talking about. Nevada, you might remember it, but I'm going to try to find it real
no,
quick for the folks.
I totally remember. And again,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a G Scott apologist, but it's so funny when I saw this the first time and people were just ripping him, and I was thinking he just kind of got caught in between, and it wasn't as bad as it looked. And again, I'm not making excuses for you because I'll be the first one to pile on him if it was. But this one was I really think this one was better than it appeared. But but let's run it down. I really think he just got put in kind of
Yeah.
a challenging spot.
Yeah. So,
If I'm remembering, the play
no,
was running to the left, right?
yep, it's I found it. Again, you guys, I know you guys love us and love me for digging through this because this is not in my telestrator, so I will not be able to telestrate this. Let me where's my scene shifter at so I can get it to the right scene. All right, so let's head into the film room real quick. Apologize, guys. All right, pop up. Let's see. This is why we are. Okay, so here's the play. So I'm gonna run it, and you're gonna see it's this next play coming up. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible. This is after Denzel's pick. You said 12:03, so here it is. So here's G down at the bottom, releasing, and again he looks like he's lost in translation there. And again, it's hard for me to wind this back the way I'd like to. I'll play it one more time, but this is a tough block. Right here it is, and again, here's what I'm gonna do because I don't want to waste our time. I'll break that down tomorrow. But again, he's basically taught to arc block. I know that play really well because with Urban we ran read option and the backside of read option you don't block the end obviously, and the tight end has to arc block. Could he be more aggressive there? Yes. Like I mean, you almost have to tell him to go hit the guy no matter what and just try to disrupt him, disrupt his rhythm, disrupt his ability to run. That's probably how you coach that because he was playing it too much for the keeper. But again, it looks terrible because we hand it to Trey and his guy who he's trying to seal is right there in the hole, and then G's kind of lost and he's trying to find something. So like when you're out in the open and you're right at the point of attack, that looks awful. But again, and we are not G Scott. We're not like this isn't G Scott Scoop. This is Buckeye Scoop. So we've been hard on G, but I actually defend him on this. And is it a teaching moment? Yes. This is something where the correct way to do it. I would say be more aggressive on the arc block and just go. You have to go affect that guy. You have to go affect that backside linebacker, and just go get a piece of him. Because again, there's a good chance you're going to hand it to Trey, and you can't just have the guy sitting in the hole because you're blocking too much for the quarterback to pull it. So I promise you tomorrow, so you get your money's worth, I will yank that and I will break it down in the telestrator for you. So I appreciate that. Nevada, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just I know I remember the play. I really think he just got put in a difficult spot. So, I'll defer to your illustration tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's not that's not an easy block out in space. So again, again, as much as I'd like to just crack G, like that's a difficult block for a tight end. So again, Kirk, big softy, like I always am, but I really think that that's not as easy as it looks. But and again, when he did it like that, it looks terrible. Now, if Will Howard would have pulled that and ran it out the back end, it would have looked great because he basically is like kind of setting a screen. So again, just my thoughts. Rohan Von Golex for the Deuce. What do you want to see us do / improve on versus Western Michigan? Um, God, I don't know. I mean, obviously, a little bit more consistency out of the O line would be great. I thought that the defense was fantastic. I liked the rotation. I liked the effort. The linebackers obviously need to take a step. Sonny Styles was running the show at Mike linebacker, so depends on if Cody goes. If Cody can go, I think it'll make Sonny better because he'll get to play Will, which is what he played all camp. Will's weak side linebacker. I thought the secondary was sticky and good, and they stuck to those guys and got a couple turnovers. And I don't know. Outside of the linebackers and mainly it's mainly it's CJ Hicks because I thought Arvell flashed and I thought Sonny had his moments and I mean Caleb Downs could probably tackle a little bit better, but again he was probably a little excited because I always wonder how it affects these guys when everyone knows that these guys are these huge bonus baby mercenaries. How does it affect them when they've got to go out and play now? Because again, like you go out and get some huge contract. Like, does it affect you? Are you not nervous, but it's not an anxiety. It's more hey, I got to go prove that I'm worth this. Hey, I got to go balls to the wall to try to go make this tackle. And he missed a couple tackles. Like our guys pressing. Like JJ. I talk to the people that know JJ the best, and they're like, dude, he doesn't ever drop balls. That was probably the last drop of his career. Now again, knock on wood, he'll probably drop one this week. But they just said that his hands are incredible, his concentration. But again, like first game in the shoe, freshman, big bonus, like whatever. Like, is there some jitters? Because I think that now that these guys have been through it, I think that the nerves will be calmer. These guys have all been through the routine now. Again, like last week, it was all new. They're staying at a new hotel. They're staying at that Hilton downtown. They got to take the bus. They got to do the skull session. For a lot of those guys, a lot of those big ticket guys, that was their first time doing that for Caleb and Will. And, so again, is that a big thing? Not really. But, this time it'll be kind of old hat. Again, like my first time walking to the shoe was way different than my 50th time walking to the shoe. Skull session. Like I had a full routine down by the time I was a senior. When I was a freshman, starting or playing my first game, or even the first game I was ever even in the shoe, I had no idea what to do. Didn't know where to go. Didn't know how long pregame was. I had no clue. So again, it's as I got more familiar with it, I got it dialed in pretty good and was basically brutally efficient, which was great. Nevada, what do you want to see us do and improve versus Western Michigan? And thank you, Rohan. That's a great question.
I mean, look, I want to see us. I want to see better linebacker play. I want to see, better linebacker play, and we better be ready for the zone read action from Western Michigan because they're going to run that against us. And I thought we were a little undisciplined in our pass rushing. Certainly a little undisciplined and a little lost at our linebacker play. I just want to see that stuff get cleaned up. I want to see a dominating defensive performance against a good Western Michigan team. And I'm going to see us let's run the ball. Let's run the ball for 200 yards. I mean, let's go out and open some holes and have some long runs and do things. I know we can pass, but let's run the ball effectively and let's just have a nice, comfortable, clean effort and no injuries. Get that, and I'm a happy camper.
Perfect. Buckeye Ryan 1, thanks for the deuce. After UM's 90 days, does NCAA make a final ruling? That is a great question. I don't know that. Like if for some, there's no way in the universe that these guys won't respond. They got to do something. But Nevada, like if they don't respond after 90 days, do you know what happens? I mean, I imagine it would be, final ruling time. I would think, but I can't imagine this will
No,
ever do that. Go ahead.
they're going to respond. I mean, they'll
Yeah.
respond within. They have a response period. They'll respond, assuming it doesn't get settled. I firmly expect it to get settled. But what would happen is they would respond, and then there'd be a scheduling date for a final hearing, and then they do a hearing, and then after that they get their penalties. So I do not believe Michigan want. I am not guessing when I say I'm 100% sure that they don't want to go through that entire rigmarole, and that's why they're trying to get to settlement right now because they're not in a good spot right now.
Well, I think that again, if you're looking at like gambling odds, it'd be like minus 10,000 that there's a settlement before the 90 days, especially after if they lose to Texas, it's probably minus a million because I think there's just no way that they're not going to try to flush this season because right now there's some minute sense of hope where they could repeat and they could make the playoffs or whatever. But anybody with a brain sees that this Michigan team is flawed. They're trying to do the two quarterback thing with a walk on and then a guy that can't throw. That's hard. They go from a great line and a first round quarterback to this disastrous quarterback situation. And it's just not going to help. When you have a quarterback situation like that and you've got 5 new starters on the O line, like it's just not going to be pretty. TK, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you. If the scum settles, will the public ever know what all of the infractions are? I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of times in life with a settlement, like a lot of the stuff is buried, but I don't know if they fully reveal everything. Nevada, do you have any idea on that?
I mean, I think I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I just don't believe for a second that this notice of allegations can stay under wraps too long. Too many people have it, and eventually it's going to get out. So even if that was the terms, and even if that's the way it's supposed to be, um, yeah, like you're putting odds. I put minus 50,000 that the notice of allegations never sees the light of day. I just don't think that's even humanly possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think that this is gonna get leaked, and like you said, you're spot on when you said this isn't leaking because this is really bad. Because again, they leaked it to Thamel, the initial one, but with the updates, I don't think that they want that out there. Speedman 606, thanks for being an ultra member, and thank you for the 5. Hope you're good, my friend. Oh, excuse me, I missed one. I apologize. I'm coming back to you, Speedman. My Tindy can wink. I don't know what that means, but thanks for the 5. When University of Michigan gets the postseason ban, can the Big Ten sue for loss of revenue or withhold their postseason share? I don't know that. I mean, I don't know if they'd want that smoke, like if you want to sue a member, but maybe. I don't think that would happen. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, no, that's actually in the bylaw. They can do it. I mean, they can do it. It's just a question of, I mean, they'd have to. Yeah, I mean, Tony Petiti can absolutely do that. I don't know if they're going to do that. I fully expect a hefty fine to be part of this settlement with the NCAA. I mean, like tens of millions of dollars. This is not going to be $500,000 and 2 games, like Yo Buffoon said. There's no chance that that is the case. But I don't know how much it's going to be. But no, they actually have it in the bylaws that they can withhold television money up to 100% of your share. And certainly, if there ever was a case that called for it, it was this one because they've brought so much discredit up on the Big Ten, the other members. They've affected competitive balance. They've been obstinate. They've obstructed justice. I mean, they've done everything that you would want to have if you were going to hammer somebody with a huge financial sanction. And so that's certainly something that Tony Petit's got in his ball tricks. I just don't know if they're specifically going to do that or not. But I can check.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And again, I always go back to all the member institutions that lost to these guys. And some of them they didn't have a chance anyways. Like Michigan State doesn't have a chance to get against Michigan games. But like some of those close games, like that Illinois game a couple years ago, the Rutgers game. When the coaches find out like what was the thing that put it over the edge was this. to me, it changes everything. Because again, like don't put this up for a vote with the other institutions because all of the ones that were in the Big Ten over the last 3 years that have lost to these guys, they're all going to vote that hey, give us some of that TV money to make up for our stuff. And again, and some of those guys they're not even around anymore. Some of these coaches, and some of the ads, because again, you lose to Michigan too many times, you're going to get fired. It's not just at Ohio State, but it's because it's not even that. Like if you're at Rutgers and you lose to Michigan, that's kind of expected. But the flip is like if Greg Schiano would have pulled that game off and beaten Michigan, like think about the momentum his program gets all of a sudden for beating one of the two blue bloods that were in the old Big Ten. So again, they robbed people that like again. Brett Bielema had those guys on the ropes, and it took a 55-yard field goal from Jake Moody to beat them. And that was one where I was just like, of course, I like Ohio State's going to kill these guys. I mean, they barely beat Illinois, but then obviously we didn't get it done. So, I think about those guys because Brett Bielema's he's kind of treading water there, but you beat Michigan, man. Especially he would have beat him in the Big House. That's a huge. That's all right. Let's talk contract extension. Let's talk everything, and that got taken away. And again, I'm not some Brett Bielema guy. He just happens to be. That's just one of those losses. Like when they had these really tight games versus what I deem grossly inferior opponents. If one of those opponents pulls that thing off, man, that is a watermark moment in the program and for the new regime. So Schiano back at Rutgers, Bielema at Illinois, like that's one where they can't wait to go out and go recruit that next week and try to get kids in the fold after, hey, did you see what we just did? We beat Michigan in the Big House, and they were robbed of that. Speedman606, thanks for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Search the definition of delusional idiots, and the Cheaters Up North fan base appeared. And this is very true. I don't get it. When Tattoo Gate happened, we said this is gonna suck, not them. Yeah, I mean they and again, Tattoo Gate was nothing, and I literally was in the middle of Tattoo Gate because I was in the building every day, and it was atrocious, and I was around all those kids that were in the middle of it, and they were in the article and whatever. It was terrible, and but that being said, like I don't think that we were as dumb as these guys are. I mean, these guys act like nothing happened and it didn't matter, and they won on the field, and I'm like, you guys did not win on the field. Like the way you guys cheated and the way that, like, again, I've broken down the plays 50 times on this podcast where it's like, hey, this guy's telling you exactly what's going to happen. And then they call the defense right after he talks. I mean, it's not hard. And again, in the era of 4K TV, and the good thing about the Ohio State Michigan game is they have 10 times as many cameras all over the sidelines and in the box and every angle known to man. It's kind of like watching, the NBC game tonight. They have 100 cameras around the field, so they don't really miss anything. So, yeah, they, I don't know. Nevada, your thoughts? And again, Speedman says, search the definition of delusional idiots, and the Cheaters Up North fan base appeared. I don't get it. When Tattoo Gate happened, and we said this is going to suck, not them. Yeah, but again, you have to look at who their leaders are: Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, that president. It's like it's Amityville up there. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Well, speaking to the delusion, I mean, just let's forget this case. Let's go back to Cheeseburger Gate just for a second. The fact that we're even calling it Cheeseburger Gate and that all their insiders, all their fan base, this is nothing. He just bought him a cheeseburger and it's nothing, blah, blah. The NCAA suspended Jim Harbaugh for a year out of this. So how much were they off on this thing? They were off by an order of magnitude of about 500% on this thing in terms of what they thought the penalties was going to be. I mean, they were proposing a self-imposed sanction of 3 games for this thing. Not only he got 3 games for this, he got 3 games for the sign stealing, and then they said they laddered another year on top of that. I mean, it just shows you how at every turn Michigan fans have just underestimated where they're at, and they've overestimated. I mean, we've talked about the worst miss of all time was Ballas going with the Jim Harbaugh's flying back. He's flying. We're going down to the airport to meet him, and he's signing the contract. He's back, guys. I mean, you can't miss on that guy. You just can't miss on that, and he did, and I think the delusion. I still can't figure out whether or not it's because these guys are being fed bad information. Because I just can't believe you keep repeating stuff. If a source told me, hey, person A is flying back to sign an extension, and I go with that, and then that doesn't happen, I I am sure as heck not listening to them again. And I don't care how important they are or whatever it is. I'm not going to embarrass myself like that. But that's what they keep doing. They keep going out there. The entire fan base is delusional because they keep getting fed bad information. And think about how far off they were on Cheeseburger Gate, and then just ask yourself, man, if you apply the same type of thinking to this one, how far off are they going to be on this one, and how bad is it going to be? It's pretty easy to get to, DEFCON 7. And you can see why they want to settle this thing because they know what's coming.
Do you think Bayless did that to curry some sort of favor within the athletic department? 'Cause you have to figure, since he is like the state media of Michigan, that somebody in the department's like, this is happening, you can go with it, put this out there, and then obviously it didn't happen. Like, do you think that's how that worked? Because again, that isn't like just this guy's gonna carry the football on Saturday. That is a spectacular miss. Like, because I mean, you couldn't be further off, especially when you'd been saying since like what, September or October, that he was going to the Chargers. Like, I don't know how early you had that, so I'm not trying to discredit you, but like you had that way before anybody else. Like, I mean, in the middle of the season, you're like, yeah, he's going to the LA Chargers. Go on the futures bet, and if you want to get rich, lay some money on it. And then sure as can be, he's an LA Charger. Because again, a lot of this negotiating goes on in the dead of the night, and it goes on not in the public eye. It goes on a couple levels removed. Again, that was like with Urban. Like, Urban Meyer said, I never talked to Ohio State until the Monday after the loss to Michigan. I'm like, yeah, the contract was already signed and dry by then. Like, you didn't talk to him, but your peoples talked to their peoples, and it got done. So there's always like, eloquent ways to do things when it comes to negotiating, especially in the coaching and agent and AD and president world, board of trustee world. Like, it's always levels removed from Jim Harbaugh, but he was negotiating, getting done. I don't remember how early you had that, but I know it was before anybody on earth. Other than maybe his agent.
Yeah, no, we had that one really early, but you think about Sherrone Moore's in the same spot that Jim Harbaugh was. I mean, Jim Harbaugh couldn't sign an extension that terminated him if they had NCAA issues because he knew that was coming. Sherrone Moore, it's literally a parallel situation. Sherrone Moore, they're asking for the exact same type of language with Sherrone Moore, and Sherrone Moore's like, no, I'm not signing some contract that says you can terminate me if I get hit with the NCAA because I know I'm getting hit with the NCAA. That's exactly where Harbaugh is. That's why there was zero chance Harbaugh was coming back. So every time they put an article, a tweet, a story, or anything talking about an extension or the contract's on the table or whatever, it was all a lie. It was 0% chance he was coming back. So hey, the delusion is strong with them, but we're like I said, we are getting to endgame now, and it's going to be glorious when all those Michigan fans, just all the Michigan tears are going to be salty and sweet, and it's going to be unbelievable. That'll be the best day ever on this podcast is when that happens, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it'll be spectacular. I really can't wait for it. J Buck, this is great. Thanks for the 5. I live up here, so I assume that's Michigan. It's going to be glorious when the hammer drops. I'm going to get, I'm going to get to wind up get wins up here this year. I hope you enjoyed your fake natty. I'm going to get 2 wins up here this year. I wasn't sure if you're saying wine or what that was. I apologize. It took me 3 times to read it. But yeah, I can't imagine how great it is. If you hate Michigan and you're up there, it's probably awesome because you're going to see all your Michigan buddies walking around and they're not going to wear their gear anymore. So, yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely glorious when the hammer drops. And oh boy, will that be an absolute monster podcast. 4.0 creator, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being on stream as well. Are we considering a watch party for Quinn Ewers at the Big House noon Saturday since OSU kicks off at 7:30? I don't know. In the comments, write if you would tune in to a watch party for the Michigan Texas game. I know Nevada. I mean, I think you'd maybe be down for it. I'd be down for it. I don't care. I mean, we like trying that out because again, like we did the Alabama one, and that was like an eternity because these games are so long now because of these stupid TV timeouts, but. That was like a 4-hour stream when we did the Alabama Michigan one, and then of course Michigan won at the end. But, I mean, I consider it. Just put your interest in the chat right now. Put a Y if you would tune into that, because I think there'd be some people that would do it. And again, I'm rooting for Quinn. Quinn's a great kid. He's a Buckeye. He calls him the team up north because again he's still a Buckeye, even though he's only here for a few months. He's still a Buckeye. And it's funny because he still has a lot of friends on this year's team, like Jack Sawyer and some of these kids they're still tight. So I'm sure every kid that knows Quinn is rooting for him to beat Michigan that's in that locker room. So Nevada, your thoughts?
Yeah. Now, I mean, look, I'd be up for it. Just technologically, we'd have to figure from on my end. Just there's some limitations that I have with my
Your
situation.
phone would be
My phone.
a puddle of water by the time it was done. It'd just be like it'd be a
but
giant puddle of water because it just melt.
but we'd have to figure it out. But yeah, look, everybody's going to be rooting hard for Texas as we get. Like you said, every player on the team is we are all hook 'em horns now, and you know that I know I'm going to be glued to it. So maybe we'll do that. We'll see. Let's check out what the interest is.
Job site Johnny, thank you for the 5. Kirk, I was in section 29A at the Akron game with the kids. Was hoping to run into you. When and where is the next Scoop meetup? So, I'm waiting on our folks at Buffalo Wild Wings. They're building a new location in Grove City. They have to give me the green light. In again, I'd like to have a little bit of time to promote it. I don't know when would be the best day. In the comments, let me know when would be best for you guys. Like, I don't know if it would be a Friday afternoon. I don't know if it's Saturdays are hard with the Ohio State games going on. So I don't know. And again, I don't really want to do a game watch because I think that they're already going to be slammed for an Ohio State road game, so to speak. Not to mention I have to usually podcast during those. So I'm just trying to figure out what would be the best scenario for you guys. So we're working on that. We're basically waiting on them. So when they give us the green light, a shout out to B Dubs, to the Groob family. Thank you guys for all your support as always. With that being said, Nevada, I think we could wrap this thing up. We got some NFL football about to kick off. Any final thoughts?
No, I think for Ohio State, this is a great week for Ohio State. It's been a great week of practice. I am so excited for this weekend. I love the setup where we've got Big Ten football for 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day or whatever it is, and having games in the morning and having games all the way through the night. It's just it's such a treat. But yeah, no, I'm excited, and Michigan hammer incoming. Buckle up, get ready for it. Root for Michigan to lose this week, and that's going to accelerate this entire process.
Yeah, and plus the Packers play on Friday, which that's going to be. I mean, have you ever seen
Nope.
them play on a Friday before?
No, and they're playing in Brazil, so they're being bussed in by like armored car and stuff like that. So somebody at the NFL thought that was a really good idea to play down in Brazil, and I'm not quite sure that was really, really good. Apparently, like if you wear green, that means you're marked for death down there with some local gangs, and the Packers are wearing green and stuff. So it's there's all sorts of little understories going on in there down. But yeah, that's gonna be a
I
lot of fun.
I would love to like shoot the official that literally came up with the idea. Let's go play in Brazil in September, where it's going to be 1,000 degrees. And again, like
Yeah.
the Olympics down there were an abject disaster, and it's not the safest place in the world. So even like if you're a fan, like I don't, and maybe I'm soft. You guys can call me soft. I don't care. But like, it's one thing to go to London or Toronto but like, I mean, Mexico City is not exactly the safest place in the world, but Brazil just seems like, why would we want to grow the game in South America where nobody plays football? But again, that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. So, all right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Again, I appreciate you guys each and every night for tuning in. Another huge show. A huge show because you guys make it one. So we appreciate you guys coming in here each and every night. In the comments, let me know, what day is best for you for a meetup. I'd love to. I love your feedback on stuff like this because I want it to be optimum for the Scoop family, for us, for the sponsors. Because I want to really knock it out. I want it to be a nice one. We've had 2 great ones. We had a great one at Twin Peaks, great one at Buffalo Wild Wings. But again, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on. In the summer, a little tricky. A lot of kids have travel sports, and people are on vacation. People just have stuff to do. So I'd like to make it optimal. Obviously, we'll do the Buffalo Wild Wings thing at the spring game. That was awesome. So we'll probably do that again next year. But yeah, I'd love to see just kind of a show of hands. What would work best for you guys? So let me know in the comments. again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys so very much. If you guys want to do something huge for us, again, follow us on Apple Podcasts. Go to Apple Podcasts on your iPhone, search for Buckeye Scoop, and then just click subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. Those are huge for us right now. And that platform is growing as fast as any platform we have. So thank you guys for helping us out. It's completely free to do. And if you guys want to follow on Spotify as well, I would really appreciate that. So again, those are two things that are growing quickly. And it's all because of you guys. So again, most of you guys are already on YouTube as subscribers. But if you're not, click that subscribe button and click that thumbs up. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Football is here. The NFL kicks off tonight, so we are right in time for kickoff. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. Go Bucks. Again, baby. Speedman got me again. I appreciate you. All right. Speedman, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you. Can coaches, players sue Hairball and staff because of firings, awards not won, and lower draft picks because of the cheating? Effects on many different levels. I don't think so. I think that would be very difficult to prove. I think that there'd be a lot of litigation and a lot of like again, like the classic one would be C.J. Stroud losing twice and basically, in my opinion, losing 2 Heisman trophies. I think that is something that would be very difficult to prove from a standpoint of if we win this, then votes would have changed, even though they likely would have. If Ohio State was undefeated, the way C.J. Stroud played, I can't imagine him. Because again, they would have beaten Michigan and they would have beaten whoever is in the Big Ten title game. If it's Northwestern, Iowa, Purdue, Minnesota, whoever. But I don't think that it would be cost effective to sue them. Be a long time deal, and there's a good chance that they'd lose. So I don't think so. But that is a great question, Speedman. So I appreciate you, and thank you to Sean and Kim who blew my phone up and helped me out so that I got that done. So thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. NFL football is kicking off. Go Bucks.